everyone. Welcome to Your Inspired Journey. I'm Carla Andrews, and I have the wonderful pleasure of being here with Prima Arinda, and she is a self-made entrepreneur who her whole focus is about having the best relationships with your spouse, in addition to, of course, female entrepreneurs. She works with female entrepreneurs and helping them connecting with their spouse. And in addition to that, she works with men in the fashion industry. This has helped her to finalize and realize the different disconnect that is happening between men and women. Welcome, Prima. I am so excited you're here with me. And I know we have a lot to talk about because I know you are really one of the few that I've heard dealing with this topic about working with men, working with women, and then really putting them together in relationship conversation.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you so much for having me. I am absolutely delighted to be a guest today.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's going to be fabulous, fantastic, because I know we have a lot to talk about. So, Prima, you got to share with us. Tell us a little bit about who you are and how did you get to this space of really impacting this sector of the entrepreneur world?
So before I was an entrepreneur who didn't really know about men. I was an entrepreneur who also had a full-time job because that's what everybody's supposed to do. You're supposed to graduate and get a job. And so I did that. For me, I worked for one of the biggest telecom companies in my country called MTN. And for 7 years, I was behind the desk trying to solve a problem. I am a network engineer, by the way. And so
nice.
I did that for 7 years and it wasn't registering. That wasn't me. I just knew I wanted more. I wanted to kind of create my world. I wanted to create my reality. I wanted to create my own paycheck. I wanted to create my customer. So I sooner realized that that wasn't the place for me to go. But along the journey as an entrepreneur, I started to date. I met the bad men, I met the good men, I met the unserious men, and finally I met the man. The man, I said, oh my God, this has got to be the man. I started to date him. I fell in love with this guy, and I realized sooner or later that we were conflicting all of the time. There's a lot of friction happening. I knew for sure I was a good person. I knew for sure this was the man on my paper. I'd written, you know, you get a paper and you write the man you need, 10 things, 20 things. He was the man on paper. But for 2 years, we were completely unhappy together. I broke up with this guy 17 times in 2 years. That's for sure. Because I would wake up every day 17 times. Every month, we would have a breakup with this guy. And he's a very kind man, a little bit opposite of me. So he would always come back, but I still love you. Why did you throw me out? And then I didn't know why I threw him out because when he came, he was so handsome and he was so charming and we would get back together. But if you count, it was 17 or more. For some reason, I didn't really know why we were breaking up all of the time. I remember one evening sitting at my balcony and sipping a dawa and really wondering, why am I always breaking up with this guy? Why is he so annoying? Because he couldn't get like the simplest things. He was total opposite of me and everything I wanted, he didn't want. Same time, I didn't want to be alone. So I was really hoping that it would work out. And as if magical, my door sprang open. Someone entered the house and I knew it was him because he had the key. He comes to the balcony, finds me sipping the tea, and he looks at me with a stare. He says, Prima, I know you love me. I know I love you. I honestly believe that you're a good person. And I know that I have loved you from the bottom.
You got to share that again. He honestly believed what part? What did he honestly believe?
I honestly believe you love me and I love you. But I also know that honestly, you're a good person. And I know that I'm also a good person. And all I have done in 2 years is try to love you the way I know. But Prima, it breaks my heart to really see you unhappy all of the time. I hate to be the guy that makes you cry. I hate to be the guy that ties you down. So out of pure love, I am going to walk out of your life and
Wow.
allow another man to make you happy. That's what he said. He bounced, closed the door behind, and when the door shut open, a light bulb was turned on for me, like, shit. I suddenly could realize he was a very humble man. He was a good listener. He was perfect at picking gifts. He was very perfect when we went in public. He would introduce you, this is my woman, and all of that. He was a very humble man. He never raised his voice. He was a listener. Like, you would talk for 30 minutes and he would still be listening. So I started to see all of these things. But for 2 years, I had never seen anything like that. He was annoying, and then he was slow. He didn't make decisions. He wasn't spontaneous. He didn't want to hang out, and he didn't want to do this, and he didn't want to do this. I wanted him to be like me, and he was really not like me. And the differences kind of did attract each other. And so we were together, and we were always clashing. We were not communicating. Then I didn't even know his love language. It was a mix. It was tears, and then we would get back together, and then we would cry again, and then we would get back together. It was funny because we would actually cry together. So I said to myself, there is something I don't know about men. Because if you put men out in that time and lined them up, I would pick him again. But then I would break up with him again. So I said, there's something I don't know about men. I've got to figure this out. So at the time,
let me ask you this. Did you ever think that it was something that you had to work on, or how did you put this blame on? Was it 100% him, 50-50? You found out it was more me, I need to work on me? Like, what were your thoughts on that?
So for 2 years, I was right. Oh my God, I was right. If there was an argument, I had to come through and talk about it. And he was just slow. He didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want to be confronted. And I was showing him love in all the ways I know, which were not really the ways he called love. And he wasn't loving me because he wasn't saying the words, I love you, and I want to hear the words, but he was buying everything, all the gifts, and he was showing up, and he was having a quality time with me. I didn't call that love. I was loving him in my language. He was loving me in his language. We didn't all receive love. We were all resentful of the other because we thought and loved, yet we're all trying to love each other in a different language. So I knew that for sure there was something that wasn't about him at the end when I started to see, okay, really, he's a good man. And all of these things started to show up. Then I imagined 17 times I have broken up with this guy. He has never blamed me. He has never complained. He would just come and he's right there. Then I would say, we're done. And then he would say, oh my God. Then he would go and then he would come back. So I really knew, because this man had come back like so many times, I knew he was not a bad man. I knew he wanted something. In fact, one day he came and said, Prima, maybe let's get married. If you think I'm not a good man, let's get married if you think I'm not serious. Because I really love you. I don't want you to be unhappy. So if you want me to commit and get married, let me do that. And I said, are you out of your mind? This is not the proposal I dreamt about. So, Carla, by this time, I had figured there has to be another reason that has nothing to do with him why we keep breaking up. I said, for one time, let me assume I don't know men, and let me find out. So I started taking courses. Anything that looked like a relationship course, I took it. I started following everybody that was talking about relationships. I really got deep into relationships. But I found there were a lot of tactics, a lot of lines, do this, do that, you get him, you keep him. I didn't want that. I said, how can I authentically connect with someone? So I started speaking to the men I was styling at the time because I had quit my job along the way. I started speaking to them after the style session. I'll be like, hey, how is the family? How is your lovely wife? And they'll be like, no more fights. And I'm like, okay, would you like to tell me more? And because they were my clients, they began to open up. And then I began to tell them my idea of what happens for the woman, and just trying to, do you feel that's what's happening for your wife? I started to relate with them and to show them in my idea as a woman how I saw what they were complaining about. And then they began to nod heads like, oh, are you for real? Oh my God, this makes a lot of sense. So I started putting pieces together. Then I started also asking other ladies who are married, who are dating, and they were angry for the same things that I was angry. But some of them were married, like I do already. And so they had to keep in there until it erupted into a divorce. So I started following these patterns, and I reached a point where it made sense. Interviewing enough men, enough women, it started making sense. Today, bring me a strange man and we can be best friends. Today, I understand men, they're really a very simple creatures. You just have to understand how they're made, their operating system, their love language. Like, why is a man? How do they process information? And you will never be frustrated again. So because I'm an entrepreneur, I understand the problem with female entrepreneurs. They want to challenge status quo. They don't want a job, a 9-to-5 job. They want their own reality. And it is very difficult for this woman to go back home and the man cannot look at her the way she looks at herself. These women hold themselves up here, and if your man cannot see that, it is annoying that it will impact how much you can do in the world. If you give this woman great love, she will move the mountain. She will move the world. She'll change the world. So I would like to be the person that really inspires these women and tells them you can have it all. You can have the relationship, you can have the great business, and you never have to choose. And so I have decided that I will dedicate my life to doing just that.
I love it. So it's amazing how, the way you're saying it, the female entrepreneurs want to create, actually any entrepreneur, right? You're in the entrepreneurship space because you're looking to create your own reality. And it's interesting. And even if I know you're saying, men is not 100% all men, but you've picked up enough trait and assessed enough of them to be able to realize where this disconnect is happening in the relationships between a man and a woman, especially in the entrepreneur world. Now, I'm sure you might have met those where the woman was the entrepreneur, because I hear that you're saying you're focusing more on female entrepreneurs, and then the man could be either entrepreneur or at work. So you can only even imagine, I can only imagine like the difference. Let's say the woman wants to be an entrepreneur, but he's at work. He works a 9-to-5 career. Have you seen a difference between those two types of relationships where both are entrepreneurs in the couple or in the relation, right? In a relationship, or where one is working still, the gentleman is working and she is taking the entrepreneur endeavor. What have you seen any difference in the relationships with those two?
So there is different relationships. There's a man that, for me, usually the man I deal with is the man in charge, the confident man. He has his things going on. He's a CEO someplace. He really is a busy man. But when he goes back home, he wants a very calm environment. He wants the wife. He wants this feminine energy. He wants to have great food. Now, this man usually is attracted to confidence. So he's gonna go pick the lady that has it going for her. A few of them may pick the opposite, who is like the submissive, I want to stay home, I want to take care of you. But most of these I have seen go out and pick the lady that is thinking the way they are thinking, achieving the way they are achieving. And now they reach home and everybody's tired. Everybody went to work and we came back home. Please do not give me the lecture of I'm a wife. So that begins to create friction because it doesn't work like that. He will not function as a woman. So I would like to show women that you can make him one. You can be the CEO in your own place. He can be the CEO in his place. When you come back home, there's got to be a difference in what you do that makes him feel like the man at home, that makes you feel. Believe me, you don't want to be the lady at home. You don't want to be roofing the house. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You just want to be cherished. You want to be adored. You want to be listened to. You want to feel like you have affection, you have love, you have intimacy. That's what we are striving for. But that's not what happens because we are constantly in hunter's mode. Everybody wants results from us. You're the CEO, you're the everything. Everyone is coming to you. So you tend to be in hunter's mode, solution mode, deadline mode. Now, when you go back home, oftentimes people take a while to convert, because at home you are meant to convert, calm down. I call that zoning out. Zone out from your CEO and become the lady at home. Now, people don't have to step on you, but you can be the lady that we love to see, who is kind and really considerate and who is taking care of the home. It doesn't mean you have to be stepped on. You can still be the CEO in that home, but when you get what you want and he gets what he wants, because if he goes without getting what he wants, he's gonna be cranky. If you go without getting what you want, you're gonna feel like you are dissatisfied and all the money doesn't make sense. And even though when you're living in a broken marriage, it is hard for you to make a genuine impact on the world, or as big as you want an impact to be.